Hi, I'm so excited to welcome you to this training all about best practices for sales pages. My name is Michelle from Two Paths Company, and I am just going to dive right in and get down to the nitty gritty of it.
Welcome to my sales page framework. So your sales page is the most valuable asset in your funnel. It is your responsibility to ensure that your sales page has everything that it needs in order to make the sales process as smooth as possible. And in order to do this, we're going to go through the top 5 tips of my best practices guide for high converting sales pages, and then we're going to do an audit of one of my own sales pages. Tip number 1 is be consistent. Consistency looks like branding, brand messaging, design choices, tone of voice, and your offers. It's how you demonstrate authority and establish trust with your leads. We don't like surprises during the buying process, okay? So I'm sure you've had this experience before. You've gone to a page, the brand was unrecognizable, or you weren't really quite sure after all why you were there. Creates a little bit of friction. Friction does not land sales, okay? This is why people are abandoning pages, because they're not actually really sure that what they're looking at once they get there, okay? There has been some sort of a gap between where they were and where you've taken them, and they're not going to spend the time to figure that gap out. They're just going to leave. Of course, this is true for your brand voice. Infuse it everywhere, but keep it consistent. So these are the types of questions that we're going to look at. What are your values? Who do you serve? What's in it for them? If you can answer these questions, it is going to make your entire marketing process so much easier. So always keep these 3 questions in mind whenever you're creating any piece of marketing, whether it's social media, whether you're doing paid ads, whether you're creating your web pages for the funnel. Use it throughout. Next is tip number 2, and it's competitor sleuthing. Do not skip this. I know it's tempting. I know it's an open invitation for imposter syndrome to just waltz right in, but you have to do it anyway. Why? Well, you have to know, first of all, what other people are offering so that you can stay competitive, but you also want to stay relevant. You don't want to be answering things that people have answered a long time ago and your leads have already figured that out and they're on to the next, okay? Next, it's a simple part of market research. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. This is something that a lot of people maybe are going to feel uncomfortable with, but I promise you it's okay to lean on what other people have already done. We see this in lots of other industries, okay? The scientific community, the development industry. By development, I mean like coding. It's very common for somebody to write a code and put it out in public, and then somebody else can use that code and then build upon it. We don't have to keep reinventing the wheel, okay? It's okay to take what other people have done, not copy it, but adjust it for our own purposes and then put it out there again. And of course, always give credit where credit is due. The last one's really important, and it could be an entire training. It's an entire course on its own, and that's your unique value proposition. UVP, also known as USP, however you say it is fine. The point is that you have to be able to demonstrate what makes you and your offer different. If you do not have your UVP firmly established, stop everything. You have no business creating a sales page. You should not be working on any more marketing materials until you've got that figured out, super solid, and then go back to everything you've already done and make sure that it's consistent. Okay, right? Tip number 1, be consistent. Tip number 3, you've probably heard this one before if you've ever touched the corporate world. Know your customer. This is KYC. It's an integral part of any business, and it covers everything from who they are, right down to their age, their location, their marital status, what their needs are, what their needs aren't, budget, and especially their hesitations and objections. And this is what I'm going to be talking about most of all because it's the most relevant and important thing on a sales page. I treat hesitations and objections as separate things. Others might not do that, okay? But the reason why I treat it separately is so that we know how to write and address it. A hesitation means that they're still looking for a reason to buy. They're still going through your page, they're not sure, but they're looking for that thing that gives them the reason to say yes. So give it to them. But an objection is different. An objection means that they're interested, they want it, but they're still looking for a way out. They're searching your page looking for a reason not to buy. They want to take the easy road, right? The easy road is no action. So acknowledge their concern and then address it. This is why I separate these two things. I hope that that's clear for you. It makes a lot more sense inside of my sales copy engine workbook, where I actually go through the entire framework I have for writing converting copy. But just keep these two things in mind. Do you want to give them a reason to buy, or do you want to provide a reason why their objections can be resolved? Number 4, this one's a personal favorite of mine. Be ethical. And along with being ethical is realistic. So it's the right thing to do, but I also think you should remain ethical because it's going to lead to longevity over time. All businesses need referrals and word of mouth. Networking is key. We can't argue that. If you constantly use people, or you're being shady or icky, you have weird practices, you're going to find yourself canceled. It's 2022. There's cancel culture. This is just how it is. Consumers are so much smarter than we're given credit for. And we know that when you say things like 48 hours only, and then you send us another email like a week later, or when we go to your social media and you've consistently said one spot left for months, is it true? It's going to make us question you. And any seed of doubt means friction, and we're not going to buy. So don't forget to not make promises that you can't keep. Don't promise them that they're going to be able to build a rocket ship and go to the moon if you're literally only teaching them how to do something within their hands. You know what I mean? Keep it realistic, because when you make these huge promises, you're going to end up having people who are dissatisfied with your product. And what are they going to do? Not refer you. Okay. Tip number 5, the last one for today, is to choose your CTAs wisely. A CTA is a call to action. And different experts are going to have different ways to do this. They're going to give you different reasons why. So this is one of the ones that I'm telling you just to hear what we're all saying, find the one that feels good for your business in your gut, and then do that. Hopefully you can also test it and test different things, but that might be a little bit advanced depending on where you are and what software you're using. But unanimously, we all agree, clear over clever. It wins every time. I personally like to use the perspective of my customer and then what action they're wanting or I'm wanting them to take. Like, let's get started. I'm ready. Sign me up. You see how it's first person point of view? Also, don't be afraid to use these throughout your page. This is probably one thing that comes up for me the most often while I'm doing an audit, is that they've put it somewhere at the beginning and they've buried it somewhere in the middle, and then that's it. When your lead is ready to become a customer, don't make them search for how to purchase. Anticipate those moments and then provide them that way. It's not being salesy, it's being of service. And if I have to go searching for a buy button, I'm probably going to give up after like a second, and then I'm going to just abandon the page. So keep this in mind. Okay, so sales page audit tips. I'm going to bring up one of my own sales pages in a moment, but I wanted to list out everything that we're going to go over in point form here for your reference. So here's what we're going to look at. Who are your customers and what do they want? What is the vibe, the overall emotion that you're trying to get across, what you're trying to make your customers feel? Where are your CTAs? Page load speed. This one is really overlooked, but so important. At least half the people who land on your page will abandon it if it takes over 3 seconds to load. Ideally, it takes only 1 second, maybe 2 seconds, but keep in mind that everybody is going to form an opinion about you within the first second. And if that opinion is, ugh, or some sort of frustration, or they're like waiting for you, like that's not what you want. So page load speed is really important, and I'll uncover that when I go to the sales page. Yes, you need testimonials. No external links, except for the legal ones at the bottom of your page, but take away your menu. You don't need to be linking elsewhere on your website. You should have done all of the nurturing and warming of your lead prior to them getting to the sales page. So it's really just a matter of them getting over those last hesitations and objections and hitting buy. Don't forget to establish your authority. So you need to know how hot or cold your leads are to be able to do this effectively. The hotter the lead, the less authority you need to establish. And then SEO, we're going to cover how important SEO is on your sales page.